All right, let's jump right in. We're going to talk about something that's basically a massive experiment happening right now. California, it's become the world's test lab for figuring out one of the biggest questions we face. How in the world do we regulate artificial intelligence? And why California? Well, to get why it's at the heart of all this, you just have to look at the numbers. We're talking about more than 5,000 registered AI companies. That's not just a tech hub, you know? It's really the global epicenter for all things AI. And it's not just about how many companies there are, it's about the money and the influence. I mean, look at this. California pulls in about 15% of all AI investment in the US. Now, that might not sound like a majority, but for just one state, that is a huge concentrated slice of the pie. You've got the giants there, right? Google, Meta, OpenAI, they're all headquartered in California. So it's not just a leader, it's literally the engine driving global AI innovation. But all that power, all that innovation concentrated in one place, it creates this huge tension. It's a fundamental conflict, really, between blasting forward with new tech and, making sure we're all safe. You've got the promise on one side. AI making our healthcare smarter, our cars safer, businesses way more efficient. It sounds great. But then there's the other side, the peril. We're talking about hidden biases causing real discrimination, our privacy being invaded, and this flood of fake content that just destroys trust. So the big question for all of us is, how do we get all that good stuff without falling for the bad? And that's exactly where California's big, high-stakes experiment comes into play. They're not just passing a few laws here and there. Nope. They're trying to build a whole rulebook, a complete framework to try and solve this conflict. And maybe, just maybe, solve it for the rest of the world too. So how are they doing it? Well, instead of some giant single law, they're building this rulebook on what they're calling 3 pillars of trust. It's pretty straightforward, really. First, it's your data, so you should make the rules. Second, you should always know if you're dealing with a bot. And third, if the AI messes up, someone has to be held accountable. Let's look at that first pillar, your data, your rules. This whole idea is anchored by something called the California Consumer Privacy Act, the CCPA. And what it does is give you, the individual, actual rights over your personal info. You get a say in how it's collected, how it's used, who gets to see it. It's really the bedrock of digital privacy in this new AI world. Okay, pillar number 2. No, it's a bot. This is being pushed forward by laws like the AI Transparency Act. The whole point is super simple. If a piece of content was made by generative AI, you should be told about it. Sometimes they even want a digital watermark. The goal is to make sure you always know if you're looking at something a human made or something a machine cooked up. And look, to make sure companies actually listen, these rules need to have teeth, and they do. This number, $7,500, that's the potential fine for a single intentional violation of the CCPA. Now, imagine that multiplied by millions of users. Yeah, suddenly these regulations have some serious financial bite. So, why go to all this trouble? Why is this rulebook so important? Well, to really get it, we've got to look at what happens in the real world, when the code goes wrong and there aren't any guardrails. This quote here really just says it all. When an AI is biased, it doesn't just make a mistake, it reinforces injustice. And this isn't theoretical. We've literally seen lawsuits over facial recognition tech that was way less accurate for women and people of color. So when an AI has a bias, it's not some simple tech glitch. It takes real-world discrimination and just makes it worse, which can lead to some seriously unjust results. And again, this isn't some abstract idea. Just think about it for yourself for a second. What if an AI denied your loan application? Or maybe you're shot at a new job, or even a medical diagnosis, all because the data it learned from was flawed? Those are the kinds of huge, life-changing decisions that these rules are trying to protect us from. I mean, we all remember the Cambridge Analytica scandal, right? It's the perfect and frankly terrifying example of what happens when personal data gets misused. The timeline just lays it all out. Data gets harvested from millions of people. No real consent. Then it's used to build these crazy detailed profiles. And then it's used to target voters. The whole thing created this massive crisis of trust that, let's be honest, we're still recovering from. So where does that leave the rest of us outside California? Well, the truth is, this experiment is probably going to become the blueprint for everyone else. There's this old saying, as California goes, so goes the nation. And when it comes to tech regulation, that's often true for the whole world. And the speed of all of this is just staggering. Get this. 18 new AI laws are kicking in California in 2025. They looked at more than 38 different bills just in 2024. And this isn't happening in a bubble. It's running in parallel with huge global moves, like the EU's Big AI Act. It feels like California is in a race to write the rules for how AI is governed. When you boil it all down, every single one of these efforts is aimed at one thing: creating what you could call trustworthy AI. It's this incredibly delicate balancing act, right? You want to encourage all the amazing innovation that AI can bring, but at the same time, you have to build guardrails to protect our rights, our data, and, well, all of us. And that brings us to the final and most important question. Is California actually pulling this off? Are they creating a real blueprint for responsible AI that the rest of the world can use? Or is all this regulation just going to be a massive roadblock for innovation? Honestly, that's the billion-dollar question. And this whole experiment is what's going to give us the answer.